How are you? Tuesday, which normally would be Monday, but Monday was Tuesday. So, welcome to the Physicist and Philosopher Hour. I'm Wayne Steiger, the philosopher, and Dr. Claudia Albers is the physicist. Claudia,
Yes,
how are you?
I'm very well. Thank you, Wayne. And how are you?
Doing good, doing good. Experiencing what is really unusual for us, just a very early onsets of winter.
Hmm.
We got in where I live a total of about 8 inches of snow. Started on Sunday late, and then yesterday was quite beautiful. So, yeah,
Oh, well, if you don't mind snow, that's fine. I'd
yeah.
rather not have any.
You're not real hip on the snow.
No.
No, no, no. Okay. Well, hello everyone in the chat room. Hi, Claudette. How are you doing? Rob, Alfred. Boy, Claudia, we have got a full crowd. People are saying hello to you.
That's
And
wonderful. Hello, everybody.
so welcome. Thank you for joining us. And so, Claudia, there's a lot going on our show Friday
Oh,
night,
yes.
which was just an amazing show.
It was.
I
Jeffrey
really,
has done very important work on the simulators and on the lens system. And he scored some amazing stuff that I keep using in my articles. It's just very important data that he has recorded in his videos.
we really are in a time
Mm.
of so much information. Um, Claudia, I guess this is the philosopher side coming out of that. Hell, Chelsea Rose, how are you? Chelsea, I just had to say thank you again for your book. I'm doing a series on the book that Chelsea sent me called Phoenix Rising. So it's
Mm.
very interesting about a Native American Indian. She was a shaman, and she actually looked into the future, and her predictions are coming to pass. I mean, Claudia, we're going to talk a lot about what she said would happen um, at this close of an age. So there's a lot going on.
Mm. Okay,
Yeah, like
that's interesting.
it is very interesting. So, Claudia, I thought I would share with you and everyone else. Give me a second. You know what that is?
It looks like a volcano.
That's Fisher number 8 in Hawaii.
Oh my goodness.
Folks, Claudia, we remember here is what's happening. You think about this 6 months ago, this was a residential area.
Oh
Children
my.
playing, dogs running, and people loving the Hawaiian Islands. And look at this now. Those craters, by the way, these sides, that's about 50 feet high.
Wow.
Now, here's the thing. They know what they have suspected this. There has been ongoing seismic activity. It looks like the eastern rift of the plate is refilling with more lava.
Hmm.
So they're anticipating, you can see right here that the temperature is nearly 100 degrees.
Wow.
So I
So
thought
basically, it's reforming the island.
it is literally,
Mm.
literally. I think, Claudia, we're going to get into I got some more things I want to show you, but I think we're witnessing maybe the advent of one of the largest tectonic shifts, particularly dealing with the Eastern Pacific plate and the North American plate.
Hmm.
I'll show you something. So I thought you would like
Yeah,
to see that.
I have seen other things like a Japanese island. I believe Scott told me just disappeared.
Bye. Yeah.
And that shows that the changes to our planet are getting more and more severe, and they happening overnight. This means we are in cataclysmic, um, in a cataclysmic type of stand now. When this starts happening, the last time this kind of thing happened was at the Great Flood, when mountains suddenly go up, canyons appear within a few minutes and things like that. So we are having that happen now.
So Claudia, I live in outside Denver. In fact, I can see the Rocky Mountains right from my kitchen window. Seeing the same thing. They're snow-packed right now. There is a town up, not just literally 40 miles to the west of me, called Cripple Creek, Colorado. It's up in the mountains, about 9,000 feet. Guess what, Claudia? It sits in the crater of an old volcano.
Oh.
Yeah, I never realized how many ancient volcanoes are actually in the Rocky Mountains.
Yeah, and you know what? Most of these volcanoes that are dormant will become active as the planet, goes through this cataclysmic event.
What do you think of that?
Wow, are those clouds?
That's Jupiter.
Oh, that's Jupiter. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Isn't it odd, Claudia?
It is odd.
Weird. So I pulled this one up for us. This is the old red spot.
It's not red anymore.
It's not. It isn't. And we have this forming out. Now, people are saying that they see a face in this. But when I see something like this, Claudia, what's happening here?
Well, if this is Jupiter at all, if we are actually seeing Jupiter, obviously there've been a lot of change. We do expect the planets to have changed a lot because the sun, the whole solar system has changed because of the planet X system. So, and what happens is this dust that these objects bring enter the atmosphere of the planets, and of course will change the colors because they actually emit light as they get absorbed and make contact with the matter in that planet. So this may be what may have happened with Jupiter.
Enormous winds, isn't it? I mean, like I said, I haven't been there. I wish I could take a ship up there and go, hey, look at that. But it's obvious to me that we're seeing dramatic wholesale changes on our planet, all the planets.
Yeah, all the planets have changed. They've been changing a lot for many years. I mean, Pluto warmed up as it moved away from the sun. Do you know how strange that is?
I mean,
but it shows you what I've always been saying. I mean, they have this idea about latent heat. I was listening to it on TV, which is crazy because latent heat will be released within a million years, and then it's over. But what it shows is that the planets are actually active. They're generating energy inside them. Like I've been saying, they have cores, just like the stars have cores, and they generate heat. That's why Pluto warms up, because the stellar core matter pulls energy out of its core, and that causes all its layers to warm up. So even as it moved away from the sun, it's not about the sun. It's not the sun that was heating it. It was its own core.
I think science is proving that you to be correct on that. I just wanted to show everyone this is a cool website you can go to, which will actually show you on the planet where we're being bombarded, if we are.
Yeah.
That's a cool website, folks. Just check it out. Now, Claudia, I came across this article, and this is very interesting. So there is in the Salton Sea, down there in the Imperial Valley of California, that goes right there to the Gulf of Baja, I think. So they're finding a phenomenon now of what they're calling a mud pit that, as you can see, it's traveling about 20 feet a year.
Wow.
And they find this one so unusual because, well, they're not supposed to be moving.
No, they're not supposed to be moving, but obviously the ground is shifting and moving. That's a very bad sign. That's a very, very bad sign. I mean, islands are disappearing.
Here it is, right here. You can see
Lakes are disappearing overnight. I've heard about these. Islands are now disappearing overnight. Hawaii is reforming. This is very bad. It shows we are at the edge of this cataclysmic event that's going to engulf the whole planet.
Yes. And this is what's got the scientists shaking their heads, going, what's going on? They know it's associated with the tectonic plate. Like I said, the Eastern Pacific rise. But Claudia, this is getting really weird because the thing that they found out about this, it's not associated with any volcano activity. This thing, and in fact, it's not even that hot. But what's strange is that it's moving, and it has moved, Claudia, quite a great distance.
Yeah, it's also, I came across this road in India that suddenly
I have that article
up and broke.
I have that article pulled up because I think this is all related.
It is all related, and that one I can explain exactly why, but probably all of it is the same thing, is that we have large numbers of stellar cores approaching our planet. They exert a gravitational force, and the gravitational force is in the form of a wave that causes the ground to contract and expand. And when the ground contracts and expands, guess what? It fissures. And if it gets denser, then it will lift up and break into pieces. So that's why everything's moving as these objects move across the surface. And it started with the ocean recession events. That was already a gravitational force that these objects were exerting, causing that. And that then leads to these events that are even more severe. Oh my goodness, look at the color.
That's Antarctica.
Just that color, that's due to the stellar core matter entering the atmosphere. I'm writing an article about the fact that this is actually not completely new to our planet. I came across a painting, I think from the 17th century, that shows a red sky and a comet.
Well, we keep seeing more and more of this happening.
We've never seen anything like this before. We definitely have something going on that has never been seen before. This kind of color is overwhelming.
Yeah,
and you see the pink. There is no way that our sun, not that I think that our sun can emit light, visible light anymore, but there's no way that a normal sun would create these kinds of colors. And you can see the clouds are actually emitting a different color of red than the pink sky behind it. So these clouds are emitting light.
And look how the ocean is picking it up.
Yes. The ocean is picking up the color from the sky. And you can see some blue clouds. You can see pink.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
So here's one. Let me get rid of this one. So here is the newest report. Folks, this is good. Claudia, wait till you see this. I have to pull down here. So these are the volcanoes that the USGA is now considering on what they call an elevated high level threat.
Oh my.
I mean, folks, this is all primarily on the West Coast. Claudia, I think, and this is just me.
I find it strange they didn't put Yellowstone on this list, though, because Yellowstone has definitely shown signs of increased activity for a while now with those geysers.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure they don't want to alert.
I don't think they don't want either. And I'm looking at this, and this is again more and more evidence of what you were just saying. There is a lot of talk, Claudia, of the campfire fire that's raging now in Northern California. More and more people are reporting there was a surge through the electrical lines. And as I'm reading this, it has all the signature of, it looks to me to be an electromagnetic pulse that went through there. It overloaded the power lines.
Yeah. I mean, it could have been done in different ways. It could have been an EMP. Or they could just target one of the power stations, or
here it is right here.
The transformers.
Right here. 2 minutes after the outage was reported at the substation.
They targeted the substation.
It was clear that something happened. I think that this has to do with could have been cosmic rays. It could have been electromagnetic. Obviously, it was. It was electrical in nature. And
yeah, it was electrical, but I've shown the evidence in that last article I sent you that they actually used laser weapons.
I have heard that as well.
Yeah, to target certain. Definitely, the evidence is overwhelming that they did. There is no other way to explain what is seen. For example, if this was a wildfire, the media are saying these are wildfires. If this was a wildfire, then a wildfire starts in the wild with the forest, going from tree to tree, and then it passes from tree to tree until it reaches the houses or the cars. But what are we seeing? We're seeing houses completely destroyed and all the trees around them are just fine.
Here's a picture.
How is this a wildfire? It's impossible.
Yeah, and Neil Young, he lost his home in this, and the pictures I'm seeing is that it looked like it was targeted. I don't know, targeted may be the overpowering word, but all the residential areas were burned up.
I don't think there's any other way to explain it. I mean, I even show a photograph of a car burnt out, a house burning in the background, and trees between the two. I mean, if you'd expect the fire to go from the car to the house, you'd expect it to go from the car to the trees to the house. That's not what you're seeing. The trees are untouched.
Well, you got a real good Douglas fir right here.
You see a tree. That tree should have passed the fire onto the house because it seems to be the closest to the house. Yet the tree is untouched and the house is completely destroyed. How does a fire get so hot that it completely destroys a house like we see this one? It looks like there's some metal girders or something there. And you can see they buckled. That means the fire was extremely hot.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
and this is not normal. A wildfire does not cause this kind of damage. It burns what will burn. But look at that. Is there something there that didn't burn?
That's a tree. And everything around it is fried. And as you were pointing out here, these fires were intensely hot. And
And look at the plants. There are plants that were obviously right next to the house. They look burnt, but they don't look like they've turned to powder. And yet the house did.
Yeah, it actually got grass right here.
Exactly. There's no other way to explain. This was targeted by a laser weapon.
I think I am not disagreeing with that. I happen to think so. There we go. Let me go to this next one. So I want to talk about weather events around the world. This is the Watchers.news. Claudia, it is getting weird out there. So we have extreme rainfall events that wreak havoc across the Middle East. Do you know that last week you had the desert in Saudi Arabia to Oman to Yemen that was covered in a layer of hail, several inches thick for thousands of miles.
Goodness. I've never heard of anything like that happening in a desert.
No. Major floods hit the city of Petra in Jordan. Deadly landslides in Rio de Janeiro. And let's just go through here. This gentleman here is saying that we're going to talk about this because I think you have a different take, but I am hearing more and more that people are saying scientists from leading where the universe, whatever, but they're leaving the global warming group, and they're saying, folks, we could be entering into a time of very cold period. So here's our volcano. Let me just show you just how much this goes on. Get the next one. Here is more volcanoes erupting in Chile.
Mm-hmm.
Destruction flood hits the desert state of North Sudan.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Very bright north toward meters over Spain. They said, Claudia, this was like seeing a UFO light show going on.
Wow.
Croatia.
Yeah, the problem with meteors is that because we're losing our atmosphere to these objects, they're actually drawing it away. There's less atmosphere for the meteors to come through and burn up. So it'll be easier for them to get to the ground intact.
And here's just further, here is Russia. Mm-hmm. Here is Rome. Here is Australia, all around the world, Claudia.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
We are getting events. We'll just put up this one here. Let's just go to this story here. Look at that cloud formation in the light.
Yeah, I was looking at that. That looks very strange. It doesn't look normal at all.
Let me pull it up in by itself. There we go.
That doesn't look like a normal cloud at all. It's very strange.
Lightning as well, Claudia. I'm getting reports.
And the lightning's not coming from that cloud. It's coming right overhead.
And so everywhere we go, we're seeing this.
Yeah.
That looks weird, by the way.
Yeah, it does look very weird. Looks like a spherical thing below there.
Here's a green light so look at this.
Yeah, nothing looks normal in our skies anymore.
No.
All kinds of strange things are happening. I think we have stellar cores actually coming in, lots and lots of them, more and more of them, more and more stellar core dust. Yeah, look at that. That looks so strange. And I've always been expecting that eventually we're going to get these cataclysmic events, and they're going to get worse and worse. And they will cause volcanic eruptions because they cause the lava to increase in density and decrease. What happens when you do that to very hot rock to the point that it's melted and become magma is it gets unstable. It's going to erupt.
Yes. I was just showing the graphics on this is an article here, Claudia, talking about these scientists are expecting potentially a climatic change in a matter of a couple of months to extreme, particularly talking in the Northern Hemisphere, of very cold weather coming in. And if what we're seeing here already in Colorado is any indication, you're going to be the next one that I think is going to get really hit. So
yeah, well, the cold happens over the land masses because it doesn't happen where there is ocean. Where there's ocean, there's a lot of heat because the ocean is warming up much faster, of course, than the atmosphere or the land masses. So in winter, when the simulators are not emitting as much energy, then the land masses get very cold. Also, we are losing atmosphere. The atmosphere is like a blanket. It insulates the heat inside the atmosphere. With loss of atmosphere, we're losing our insulation.
That's basically what they're saying, is that it's allowing more of external from outer space, that Earth is losing more heat than it's retaining.
Yeah, well, I'll take that with a pinch of salt because they actually use laser technology to warm up our atmosphere because oxygen certain molecules will absorb certain frequencies of laser light. And they're obviously doing that to warm up our atmosphere.
Yes.
And, simulate things that the sun used to do.
Well, here's what they're saying right here, Claudia, that we've passed the neutral line of weather for the warmth. And if they said that this solar minimum continues the way it's going to be hitting from 2020, I think, through 2050, this is what they're looking at. If it hits this cold line.
But I have actually looked at the data over thousands of years. And what it shows is that from about 1850, the sun went into super activity.
And you can see it
from
back
about
here.
Middle of the 19th century. So this thing that they're saying it's a minimum, it's not a minimum. What has happened was the sun first became super active because of the Planet X system coming in, but they never show back thousands of years. I actually show it in some of the articles I've written. I'm going to send it to you.
Okay.
I have already. But it became super active. And then, of course, it reached the point where it couldn't any longer because of the stellar core dust replacing its own corona. So it reached the point it didn't have enough electrons and it started not emitting as much light and it got weaker. So what they're showing here, it doesn't make any sense when you realize what's actually happened. And this solar minimum is not true. I mean, if you look at what's happened with the sun's corona and you look at it in the SDO images from 2011 and the ones from 2017 and 2018, you can clearly see what has happened to the sun. It's losing its corona. And so it's not a solar minimum. It's the sun losing the ability to emit light.
Well, they're not going to admit that. And
of course not.
Here's something that's very interesting. The folks that live on the East Coast there around the Del Mar Peninsula, this is getting worse and worse. There is a sound. They say it sounds like music, but like a constant bass drum. But they're saying it's driving people nuts, and no one can find the source for it.
That's very strange.
I thought this one was interesting, that they're saying that, I don't know what these are, by the way, your field, particle physics.
Yeah, they're still on with this dark matter. Every time they've tried to say, oh, there's this dark matter. At the observation, the experiments come back saying there is no such thing as dark matter. So now they're still talking about it.
Still talking about it.
Ridiculous. It's the same thing as they say, oh, yeah, the Big Bang. Yes, definitely there was a Big Bang. It's been falsified over and over again, but there was definitely a Big Bang.
Definitely a Big Bang, yeah.
There's a black hole at the center of every galaxy. Now, if you observe the objects in the sun's corona, you can clearly see that these are stars and they're larger than the sun and they didn't turn into black holes.
I'm just going, okay.
Yeah. So they go on with their stories.
They do go on with their stories. You're absolutely
it's fairy tales.
Dr. Albers, tell us what you really think about this. It is. So there is, hey, Jeff P., how you doing? I didn't realize. Great, Scott, how are you doing? I just want to say hello to everyone out there. Thanks, moderators. So that was just my putting together just a random sampling from around the world of what's happening to our planet, Claudia.
Yeah, there's a lot happening. And it shows that, things are only going to get worse. What we see happening will just increase in severity. And you can see that every area in the world is going to be affected by whatever they have there. If you have a volcano nearby, you'll probably be affected by that. And if you have the ocean, you might get the tidal waves. And and if nothing else, you still get hit by the weather.
Well, it's like there's every part of our Earth, whether it's the atmosphere, whether it's the ground, whether it's the ocean, it's all being impacted. that, upheavals. This here, can you see your article here,
Oh,
Claudia?
yes, yes.
Yeah.
This is the one about India where this road suddenly lifted up. This is a road made out of mud, suddenly lifted up and it broke into pieces. And it lifted quite a few meters off where it was before because it was down there where you see the ground. And this for 1.5 kilometers. And people were so scared, but there was no seismic activity, no earthquake. It just happened. It just suddenly lifted and broke. And people were very afraid. The authorities say it's because the water in the mud dried up, and that's why this occurred. It's ridiculous. I mean, why would a road drying up break up into pieces? Actually, it's the opposite, because as the stellar cores come by, the gravitational force, and there's a gravitational wave attached, and the part of the wave that goes by, if it's the part that decreases the density, it means that the water in the mud will expand. And when it expands, the road will get larger. Of course, it will need to occupy a larger volume. So, of course, it breaks up. It lifts up and breaks. And this is what I show there. There's actually a gravity is a wave. There's always a wave attached with it. And that means it has alternative regions of high and low density. It's actually a stationary density wave. It moves because the object moves. And so you see the yellow there is the low density region. In the middle, it's got a central minimum. That's why it always forms a vortex with a hole right through the middle. It's got a central minimum and then a circular ring around it. This is a cross section, but it's in a ring shape, circular pattern. And around that, there's a maximum. And as the object gets closer, the height of those bulges, the yellow bulges, will go up until eventually it connects to the object and forms a vortex. So that's what it does over the ocean, because water is much more responsive to changes in density. This is solid ground, so it's not as responsive, but what it does is it expands and contracts. And if there's water in the ground, you will get more of an effect. And this was a mud road, so it had water in it. So this is what happened. Look at it. And of course, it will expand, and then as the high density part of the wave moves onto it, it will contract again. So it will leave huge spaces between the blocks that have broken. It's amazing. It's amazing that this is happening. You see that the ground around it has not been affected in the same way. This was a mud road. It was made out of mud. So a lot more happened to it than to the ground around it.
Yeah, and it goes for meters down. That's just
1.5 kilometers. So that's about 1 mile.
I was going to say close to about 9.
It's about 1 mile.
This is interesting.
Yeah, and it's not the only place where it's happened. So I've come across other areas, and this is a town in Peru that was destroyed by fissures. And you can see the huge blocks, and the fissures are still growing. It started in 1998. So
really?
The fissures started opening up. Apparently, the authorities told the people just to fill them in with rocks and so on in the beginning, but they kept growing and growing and growing. And then eventually the whole hillside slid downwards because obviously the ground was breaking up so much, there wasn't anything holding it. And look at the size of that fissure.
I was just going to say, that looks really, I'm going to expand
it's really bad.
So that we all can see exactly the depth of, look at that.
It's amazing.
Don't fall down in that sucker.
So you can see why canyons can suddenly open up when the earth is going through these cataclysmic changes. Like the Grand Canyon could open up over a course of hours.
All right. So, I look at this, and first of all, I see where it could be possibly a city underneath there. Um, well, I mean, this is huge upheavals of the land. It seems to be in a very defined uh, area. I mean, it's not affecting the subsequent hills, but this one is growing though. This one you were talking
It's still
about.
growing. Yeah.
Okay, so we don't even know the full extent of what this is.
Yeah, we can only look at it. It seems to go through stages where, it's stable and then suddenly happens again, something else happens. And that's exactly what you would expect because these objects are attracted to certain regions of the earth. So they will go and come back and then create more upheaval. And that was another region in India. This one's in Saudi Arabia.
Here, yeah, Saudi Arabia, something's going on underneath there. I mean,
Something's going on there, definitely. And
do
that's
you
New
think
Zealand.
abandon is opening up? And where's this?
New Zealand.
New Zealand.
It's happening all over the world.
Yeah. Wow. This is
It's
not
amazing.
good.
No, this is happening more and more and more.
So you have another article here I found riveting on this one. So this is the footage that Scott showed a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
And you've had a time to, I guess, really get into a little bit more. So let's walk through this.
Yeah, so what I did here was actually use the images to come up with an idea of the size of the object. I estimated it. As you can see, it's different sizes in both images. The two images are 2 days apart. So obviously in 2 days, the object moved a certain distance away from the detector so that it decreased in size. And I estimated that it decreased by 1/5. And that means it moved 1/5 of the total distance that it initially was from the detector. So I could use that to measure. I sort of estimated the speed and the size.
You tell me where you want to keep at on this.
Yeah, so there I just say it's 1/5 of its size decreased by January 12th. So we can move down a bit.
Are we seeing, by the way, I didn't ask Scott this, but are we seeing this going towards our sun? Or are we seeing this in a kind of an elliptical orbit?
Okay, so it's definitely moving towards the sun because you can see the sun becomes more and more active as it moves towards the sun. Also, as it gets to the 12th, it starts getting immersed in these clouds of coronal plasma that the sun's emitting. So it's definitely moving closer to the sun. And then I show on the 14th that it's totally, almost completely immersed in these CMEs that the sun is firing at it. Obviously, the sun is going crazy because of this approaching object.
It looks like it's moving very quickly. I don't know what the grid system is.
I estimated a minimum speed of 174 kilometers per second.
That's all an ass. Excuse me, but that's moving.
Yeah, it's probably moving faster than that because it's actually moving in a curved trajectory where I estimated that using a straight line trajectory.
Okay. So it's interacting with our star. Our star is interacting with it. Do you think that this is a cloudy, a cloud-covered object? I mean, I know we're getting refractions.
Well, remember, it had a lot of debris around it.
This is true.
It has a whole cloud of debris around it and following it. There's also a lot of dust around the sun that these objects have been leaving there for thousands of years. So that's the type of trajectory that I use to estimate its size and its speed. And once I have, so that's stereo A, the red dot there. So it was moving in towards the sun until the detector could see it. It came into the field of view of the detector. And that would have been when we picked it up on the 10th. And then it moved towards the sun on the 12th. And then on the 14th, it didn't change size between the 12th and the 14th. and it was about the same size. It's never as clear in the PDF file, but
Yeah.
it didn't change much in size, and it was immersed in the cloud. So I would assume that it had reached the same distance that the detector is from the sun. So that's why I had it move towards the sun between the 10th and the 12th. And then from the 12th to the 14th, it moves along maybe a tangential line with respect to where the detector is towards the sun. So
you know what I've
that's what
seen,
I
Claudia? If our line of reference is coming off of here, off of the radius lines coming out, you can actually see that it's actually moving downward too.
Yeah, it may be moving slightly downwards, but I was more interested in the distance with respect to the detector, so I could estimate its size. Because you see, the moment I can say, okay, it's at the same distance as the sun from the detector, then I can do a size comparison between it and the sun. All I have to do is figure out how large the sun is, or would be if it was seen in these images.
Look at this. I just now saw this, Claudia. You can just really see. I don't know if that's just the...
Yeah, you could see these clouds of plasma coming off the sun and hitting this object and sort of reacting with it.
Yeah.
That's what we're seeing there.
That's a bad day to be on this object.
Yeah, but this object's huge. It's huge. It's absolutely huge, as you will see.
Okay, let me get us back down to normal size.
In fact, you would start thinking our poor sun.
As big as our sun. This
it's
is what,
bigger.
Yeah. So can I ask here, going out then, is this something that we're seeing? I mean, is it the theorized binary star theory that this object potentially could be caught up in the sun's twin?
I don't think so.
Okay.
This is a low gravity object. That's why it's such a huge object coming into the solar system. If it was a viable living star, it would have disrupted all the orbits of the planets. This didn't happen. So this is definitely a stellar core. It's one of the objects that come from the Planet X system, the destroyer system, which is basically made up of dead star systems. They are dead because they're energy depleted. So they have low gravitational influence. That's why they can come into the solar system and not disrupt the orbits of the planets, but they're still very powerful, large objects. They absorb a lot of energy. They absorb material from the sun. This is what I use to estimate the size of the sun. I put the two images together. It's an HI1 image with a Core 2 image. And I line the jets and the CME coming from the sun so that I can get the Core 2 image the right size for the HI1 image.
Here we go.
And that means that I now can estimate the sun's size in the HI1 image, because the Core 2 images give us the size of the sun, the HI1 images do not. But by putting them together, because of course it's the same detector, it's at the same distance. Yeah. So I can determine the size of the sun, and it's given by that white circle on the occulter. So then I just draw it in the HI image. It's that yellow circle. And now I have a reference. I know how large the sun would be if it was in these images.
So you're saying this is good. This is good that what we're seeing up here, let me pull it back up here, our little friend. Welcome to my little friend. There it is. I mean, this one to me is probably the most stunning picture of this, because to me it's exactly what we have seen when our instruments go out and take a picture of our own solar system.
Yeah, these images are amazing because they give us depth perception.
Yeah, they do.
Into the inner solar system that normal HI1 images do not. And obviously they do not, because they don't want us to see what's really there. So this is why this data that got sent to Scott is so very important. It's so amazing. We've never been able to see details like this in HI images, in stereo images.
I have
Never.
Photoshop. I can do some work on these to really
Mm.
enhance this. If you'll send me some of the stills on this, because one of the things that I did in my career, we sold high-end computer animation and graphics.
Mhm.
This was back in the day when they were only by the very expensive machines. So to do a rendering in a 3D where you're actually taking a one-dimensional object that the camera is seeing and then begin to see how the light is distorting around the plane of the object gives us an idea of how we can begin to see the depth of this. And
Mm.
Claudia, that's just amazing. I mean, I'm looking at this and
It
it's
is amazing. That's why we could, in that footage, see the um, the debris field that's with it. And
mhm.
there's a lot of debris in the inner solar system but we never get to see it because they actually hide it from us by, I think, filtering actually the images so we don't see the details.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
this is obviously what, the people that know what's going on get to see.
There's
Yeah,
no masking to this. I mean, this
exactly.
is just raw footage. I mean, it's
Hmm.
all
It's
right.
amazing.
Let
Yeah.
me go down because I have digressed. I it's rather
I know
mesmerizing.
it's your background in images that makes you very interested in
Yeah,
it.
it's compelling.
Hmm.
Look at this. This is another one that just
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. I actually took this out of Scott's live stream, but I can send you the images that I have. They
this
will look
is
clearer.
this is just there is so much going on right here.
It is. It is. And if when you watch the video, you can actually see these clouds of plasma coming from the sun, huge amounts. The sun was going crazy, ejecting so much coronal plasma at this object. You
It
can
seemed like
see.
it would suck it, it's like you're hooking into an extension cord into the sun and just sucking the power out of
Yeah,
it.
I figured out that what happens is the larger objects provoke the sun into having these ejections because of the electrical interaction, because they very positively charge, whilst the sun's corona is negatively charged. So the sun's corona will actually be attracted towards it. That's why keeps exploding outwards towards it. And that's how it catches the sun's corona. Whilst the smaller ones actually go into the sun's corona and make gravitational vortex connections with the sun's surface.
So we're
So,
seeing this in 2013. This little puppy came through,
yeah,
huh?
January 2013.
Yeah. Okay. This makes a lot of sense, Claudia.
Mm.
People look in your archives, all you observers that, you like me, and you've burned out more cameras, and your wife's going,
Yeah,
you need to
and
buy another one?
and this object in the normal HI1
Look at
images,
that.
I have it in one of the other articles, was labeled as Jupiter.
Really?
Yeah, it's in the previous article. Yes. And it's
I'm gonna have to
obviously
get
not
that one.
Jupiter because it's larger than the sun. And I mean,
Well,
yeah.
those buffets. And, speaking of Jupiter, they released last week another 9 moons. I mean, what is Jupiter? I mean, if anyone doesn't think that we are not in the middle of a debris field, Claudia, listen, I'm expecting them to make an announcement, the of us backyard astronomers, when we're going to start seeing another thing that they're going to say, oh, well, that's just the moon you haven't seen.
You see, what's happened is, say, in 1956, I'm looking at the comets that have been coming in through the solar. I'm writing an article about that. In 1956, Rand Roland, the comet, was the 8th comet to be found that year. And it was the 3rd comet to reach perihelion in 1957. So already in 1956, we had huge numbers of comets coming in. So you can see how far back this goes. There are lots and lots of comets coming in from the 1950s.
Claudia, what's this?
Yeah, well, that is
I mean,
obviously not normal. I didn't go into
no.
that. I've seen that
Look
before.
at
That's
that.
definitely an ejection.
I mean, it's not even near the sun.
No, it's definitely
It's not even near any planet.
Yeah, and there's lots of objects out there.
May 2nd, 2000.
Yeah.
Wow. And you can see here that it's behind this star. Did you catch, is that a comet? It would be a monster of a comet
how
if
could
it
it be a
was.
comet? Because then its tail would be the wrong way round. It's the comet tail always faces away from the sun.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So that's not a comet tail for sure. That's a plasma ejection from an object that's there. We probably either the object has been blocked out. There is a kind of a circular outline there. So there may be an object there, but there's something there that's having some kind of plasma ejection. And it's ejecting towards the sun. And I've found lots of evidence of this happening before. And they often label it as Venus or something like that.
Well, that ain't no Venus I've ever. That's big.
That's definitely
that is. Look how large. If you just do, like you said, if you just start doing some basic measurements between your background objects, this is big, Claudia, and it's back out there.
Yeah.
Might want to. Now I'm gonna.
I try to focus on one thing.
I know. Because then you got me come along going, well, wait a minute, Professor.
Because I've written lots of articles on these ejections that show that there are objects there.
But folks, there's your evidence right there.
Yeah, 2011.
Okay, so let's continue. I digress.
Yeah, so then I just put the two images together.
Look at
I actually left the blue one a little bit larger than the other one, just to make sure I'm not overdoing it. But you can see how small the sun would be in comparison to this object.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Wow. That's huge.
It's larger than the sun.
Okay. All right. So, we get the critics all the time. How did they hide this? Now, I saw the trajectory. Maybe were we on the other side of this object as it was passing through?
No, we were about 120 degrees away. I actually show in the previous article, I show the position of all the planets.
Okay.
Stereo A was supposed to be about 120 degrees away from Earth.
Okay.
Let me see if I remember. It was aligned. Stereo A was aligned with Venus. I'm not sure where the Earth was.
I'm going to pull back up here to where.
But it's in the previous article.
Okay.
Oh, there it is. Yep. Yeah. So Earth was on the other side. So this object came in through. It passed Earth's orbit. That's where Stereo A is, and went in towards the sun. So Earth wasn't there at that time.
Okay. Wow.
But yeah.
This is
you can see that if the Earth had passed through this debris field, we would have had trouble. It could be that that's what is happening to Earth right now, that there's a debris field that's coming in. That's why we're seeing so many red skies.
Yeah.
Of course, they wouldn't tell us.
No, they would never do that. But, even in looking at this picture here, I can already see, to my eye, that what we're seeing is, look at the objects around this, folks. I know we've talked about this, but there's one there. There's one there. There's one. There may be more there. There's actually something around here this is it. Claudia, I know we've seen this, and I still love to do another whole show on it because I don't think. Here's the thing. It's a matter of cognitive recognition with the viewer. That people just don't believe that things come through our solar system that could really harm our planet. That's Hollywood. That's science fiction. That's
Yeah.
what we go pay to go see at the movies. But this is reality.
Yeah.
And if it's as nearly as large as our sun, I tell you, it dumbfounds me at time, because when I look at this, it begins to make sense.
Yeah, it begins to make sense what's happening to our solar system, why the Earth is in such upheaval, because these objects have been coming in for thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them stay with the sun, they never leave. Some of them go around and around in their orbit. That's what comets do. They don't obey gravitational laws like they should because they're energy depleted.
Mm. So
Yeah.
we've got,
So,
go ahead.
sorry.
No. So this is the one I pulled up here as well, because I thought this one is that it's mounting evidence,
Mm-hmm.
and it's no longer circumstantial evidence. This is
Yeah.
becoming solid. Yep.
So Planet X basically wanted to stress that it's here and it's having real effects. Because certain people are actually saying that Planet X, the whole system, is a hologram. Now, we have evidence of lots of holographic projections being used in our atmosphere to hide things, to hide the fact that there's something very wrong with our sun. But these objects are real. They've been coming in for thousands of years. They're comets. This is actually Comet Halley.
Yep.
This is an actual photograph from 1910. You can clearly see the comet in the sky. Now, there was no sun simulating the sky in 1910. And most of us still remember the real sun. We remember what it felt like to have real sun on our skin. Nowadays, if we expose our skin, it very quickly feels burnt. But years ago, when we were children, it was a nice, soft feeling.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
I do. I worked out in the garden all summer, I can tell you.
So we had a real sun in the sky. So in 1910, we had a real comet in the sky, and the comets are Planet X objects. So Planet X objects are real. And the effects they're having on the Earth are real. That's why I show the ocean recession events down there.
Mm-hmm.
The ocean recession events can only be caused by an object approaching from outer space. Tides are caused by the moon. I mean, it's reached the point where some people have actually said that it's the moon that's causing these ocean recession events. But excuse me, how logical is that? When we're having normal tides in most of the world, and we're having these unprecedented recession events in just certain regions, how logical would it be to think that both are caused by the moon? It's impossible. And some people are even saying that they're caused by the fact that the moon has disappeared. So, well, if the moon disappeared,
I mean,
we have no
listen.
tides whatsoever. How would they cause these increased tides? No, these are due to objects, massive objects approaching the Earth from outer space and closely approaching the Earth, so that the tides they produce are much more severe than the moon's tides. And they affect small regions as well. And these tides take a long time to come back. You know, a normal tide takes 6 hours to go from high to low tide. Mm-hmm. And that means that the minimum of the tide can only last 1 to 2 hours. But these often last much longer than 12 hours. What does that show? That actually shows that the object is actually hovering over that area. And where have we seen these objects do that? In the sun's corona. They make a gravitational connection with the sun. They hover over the same point for hours, sometimes days.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah, and then we have the high tide event. So we have both the ocean recession, the high tide, and that shows that gravity is away because it has hollows and it has the tidal bulges. So it has the bulge and the hollow. That means it's a wave. It has a maximums and minimums. It's a wave, but it's a stationary wave. It only moves when the object moves. So this is the kind of wave that it creates, and I illustrated with this diagram. So it has a the bulge area, and it has a hollow in the middle. And as the object approaches, the height of that maximum tidal bulge increases until the object comes down to a distance which is equivalent to the wavelength of the wave, and then it connects. It forms a gravitational vortex. And then the object draws material from the Earth's ocean through that connection. That's what they do on the sun as well.
And here we're seeing in
India and then
again.
I show the effects of what we see that I just wrote about in India, and I explain again what's happened. And then, you know, some people are saying that these are simulations. And my argument here is there's no way these are simulations. Anyone that has studied these images and seen the billions of details that we are seeing, it's obviously a star. It's evolving over time. It's rotating. It has a turbulent atmosphere where you can see it in several wavelengths of light. They never contradict each other. If this was a simulation, we would get discontinuities all the time. We would never be able to see all these details. It's impossible that these images are simulations.
And if people don't think the star is getting weaker, I mean, come on, folks.
Yeah, and that point as well. We can see that it's losing its corona.
There is no corona up here. It's gone.
In fact, right now, I'm sure it has no corona, because there's definitely lots of evidence that the sun is not illuminating our atmosphere, because our atmosphere is so dark, and there are gaps in the cloud where there's no sun shining through them at all.
And Claudia, I'm going to back out of here on this. This is so heavy. I gotta tell you, there is so much going on in across the board.
Yeah.
I mean, wholesale changes, our sun, our stars, our solar system, the planets, Earth itself, massive upheavals of land masses, great volumes of water. Just, I think about these tidal erosions, particularly with our friends down in South America. We have a lot of viewers that are in Brazil and in South America, and they're saying the same thing.
Yeah, the whole world is being affected more and more. And the thing is, you see, they gave us this story about an object that comes through and goes out again. These objects are not going to do that. They are going to keep coming in. So there is no getting away from it. I mean, if we're going through a debris field, it's possible that eventually it will clear up somewhat, but the objects will continue to come in and bring in their debris fields.
Yes.
So there's going to be more and more and more of it.
You know, we've shown the meteorite systems, and when you combined all the Geminide, all the different meteorite showers that we see, Claudia, we're in the middle of a freaking debris field. It looks like a war zone is what it reminds me of. It's just debris is everywhere.
That's right.
I'm still surprised that we haven't gotten smacked more than what we have.
Yeah, the thing is, we're fortunate in a way because even the debris is very low in energy. So it is not easily influenced by the gravitational field of a planet. It comes in, and it comes in slowly because it doesn't act much like asteroids. You would expect an asteroid to go through, right through the atmosphere. So it comes in slowly and absorbs energy, and it creates all that light in the sky. But eventually, this debris absorbs energy, and then it starts acting more like asteroids. So over time, the likelihood of us getting hit by this debris and it coming in as asteroids increases.
Yeah, I would think that in my mind, if, you know, it's like everything else. When you start coming in the middle of a storm, the winds don't typically start immediately. You've got that little breeze, and then the next thing you've got a full force gale. And I look at the debris field the same way. You'll see a less density as you begin to enter in, or it enters to us. I don't know which one it is, but it's here. I mean, when you even got NASA coming out last week, as we spoke on Friday night, dust bunnies. Dust bunnies?
Well, NASA discloses through euphemisms.
Don't they, though? I mean, I'm going, dust bunnies? I mean, all right. Now we got 2 dust bunnies out there. You know, the thing I know about living in Colorado, rabbits multiply very quickly. So, and so my mind's thinking, well, if we have 2 dust bunnies, we're about to have 8 more dust bunnies.
Yeah, that's good.
And then at some point in time, folks, we're going to be overrun with dust bunnies.
Absolutely. I think we overrun already, but it's going to get a lot worse.
Yeah. Well, I just think, Dr. Albers, that, you know, that's 25 years of education someone should get their money back on. It's like, you know, you're going over there. Well, Fred, what do you want to call it? Well, I don't know. Dust bunny looks like to me.
Let's tell everybody there's nothing to be afraid of. We'll put the word bunny.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just, you know, when people hear about bunnies, you know, they only think about these white fuzzy things. And I'm going, yeah. It's like, okay, but what's with the dust bunny? Oh, we forgot the dust. Yeah, it's that confounded dust, you know. It's my favorite hilarious because where do they put that confounded bridge? Well, Dr. Albers, we've had another exciting show.
Yes.
Yeah. Folks, you know, let me see, you know, we have had some spectacular shots. Allow me a second to digress. I want to go and pull up something. I hope I have this because she is really good in sending us pictures. And so give me 1 second, Claudia. I got her.
Okay. Always ready for some pictures.
Okay. What did I do? Now, I got it. So, to some of you who follow on these observation cams, and I'm not sure, I don't like to tell people's names because I don't till I get their permission. Yeah. But she sends us pictures quite often. Look at this, Claudia. Now, I thought at first that this could have been a aberration, but as you can see in the next frame, look what she captures here.
Wow. So these are devices in the atmosphere or UFOs.
Look at that.
Definitely.
Well done. That's all I have to say, folks. Now
you know that Scott caught these objects that were moving at 6 times the speed of sound. Wow. Tiny little objects around the simulator. And I did actually write an object. It's called Advanced Technology in the Skies or something like that. I actually calculated. I first estimated it roughly, and it was too fast. I estimated again. It's 6 times the speed of sound.
6. That's moving. And if I'm doing that right, that's almost 5,000 miles an hour. That's moving.
Yeah, it is.
So these are just some of the pictures she sent. It was quite fascinating. Claudia, there is a lot going on out there.
There is, because you see, there's the Planet X system.
Thank you for sending that, by the way.
Yes, thank you. And so there's the Planet X system. The powers that be don't want us to really, or many people to know about. They obviously are disclosing it in very obvious ways.
Yes,
but yet they've educated the population in such a way that it's not likely for them to understand it. That's why my explaining what's actually going on should help people. But they are disclosing, they're telling people the truth, but they don't expect people to understand what's really going on.
No, they don't.
No. So basically, they are disclosing and blocking.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So, and then they're using the devices in the atmosphere to stop people from understanding what's really going on.
Yeah.
And I call these people that, leave comments, and I call them agents of those who are terrified of the truth.
I like that.
Yeah, because that's what they are. They are terrified of the truth. And the truth is that the planet X system is here, that the planet X system is affecting our solar system. It's basically destroyed our sun. It's slowly destroying the rest of the planets in the solar system. This is happening, but they're terrified of that truth.
Well, they are. And I tell you, our politicians that we elected, one was recently elected, and they asked about something about energy. And the person said, well, the sun turns off during the day. That's why we need the moon at night.
Well, maybe she's right.
And I'm going, well, maybe she really knows something here. I mean,
she does. Maybe she's actually telling the truth.
And she got mocked in the comments.
Actually, Wayne, she's absolutely right. They do turn off the sun simulators during the night, because I found out that all the devices are actually in the atmosphere over that region. They've developed.
I can see that.
In the atmosphere. So they turn off the sun simulator and turn on the moon simulator. She's absolutely correct.
Yeah, I thought, well, maybe she really knows something. I mean, but there you go. I mean, disclosure comes in many different flavors. In many different forms.
Absolutely. And you think most people would say, oh, she just doesn't know what she's talking about. But she was actually telling the truth.
Yeah, who knows that she was actually coming. I just said, okay, you got to take it where you can get it.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Albers, another exciting time. Now, I think that next week is Thanksgiving week. Are you still good to do a show on Monday night?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, you're not going over to Grandma's house or,
Yeah, I don't know.
That's right. So, here.
I'm not sure what Scott has planned, because he usually tells me that I have to make, the dinner, and I have no idea how. And
you can come over to our house. I'm a really good cook.
I have to do Thanksgiving. I have to do a turkey or something.
Yeah, it's a strange tradition on the turkey. I don't know. So, next Monday night, we'll be back on at our normal time. So if you're good, unless you're going to be going out somewhere, but if you're not.
No, I doubt that we go out. We work all the time.
That's what I was saying, And so, well, folks, thank you. We had another large crowd in here tonight. Dr. Albers.
Wonderful.
I just want to thank everyone that came in, and also March on America.
Yes. Hello, March for America.
Yeah. Welcome, all of you great folks. We thank you.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, this is, I learned something. Mm-hmm. And if you'll send me some of those, that footage, I will actually get some of those frames, and I'll put it through Photoshop, and let's see what we can actually do, and maybe enhancing it.
Yeah, I think Scott has not finished going through all the footage. I'll ask him to see if I can get some direct shots from it.
Okay.
But these ones I took from his live stream, and they work quite well. I can send you the ones I have as well.
Okay, because then we'll share them with everyone else here. And folks, send your pictures in. I'm going to start putting them in a separate file, Claudia, that when they come in, and then that way when we'll take a portion of our show, and because some of them are getting spectacular shots. They're catching planets out there or stellar cores. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very clear.
The objects there.
And there's one who is, and I think it's in the same one, that a lot of people sending in pictures of triangle clouds. Now, I don't know how Mother Nature does that, but.
Yeah. In one of my articles, I actually started talking about these cities in the sky that started appearing. I think I'll write an article just about that.
Yeah.
They started appearing in 2015, and what I think it is that the stellar core matter coming into the atmosphere is affecting the cloaking technology that these alien cities have that are in the sky. They've probably been there for a long time. That's why they started appearing.
We need to do a show on that, because actually I just read something similar to that, that the reason why they have to come out with 5G is in order to keep us pretty much blinded to what's really going on. That there may in fact be complete cities up there at the sizes of most states.
Oh yeah, they definitely seem to be, because they've been seen now since 2015, different parts of the world, twice in China, I think over Africa at least.
I seen the footage in
Brazil or something like that.
The one in Switzerland. That was not a mirage. I mean, the guy.
No. These are not mirages, because they are seen by thousands of people from slightly different angles.
Yeah.
How can you see a mirage from different angles? In the sky? No.
Hey, listen, they keep telling us that those are just contrails up there. Y'all just be
right. They will say anything, just because they want to cover up the truth. They don't want us to know what's really going on. But there are obviously whole cities up there.
I'm telling you what, we're going to wake up one day, Claudia. I had a dream, and I'm telling you, I think that there's already an armada up there, but I know people say that's.
I think they are. I think each city, each region has its own set of devices. And I don't think they're doing anything good for us.
I don't see.
No.
I feel like the rat, forget the cheese. Just get me out of the trap.
Yeah, but going back to the 5G, microwaves affect oxygen and water. So they're mainly absorbed by water molecules, microwave radiation. And so our bodies, of course, will be affected because it's mainly made out of water.
I've also I'm going to be doing a story on this on my the Daily Show. Nanobots. We're contaminated with it. Anyway.
Yeah, I think they're putting them in the chemtrails.
I think they're everywhere, and I think that the 5G is the activation code. It's just me, but I really do. I think that it begins to activate.
But that they can't just. I think the final thing would be getting the chip, and they can't force you to get the chip. They have to give you the choice. Well, they try to force you by, saying, well, you don't get it, you don't eat, but they still have to, they can't just put it in you without giving you.
Here's the problem. More and more multinational companies are telling their employees they have to be chipped.
Yes, I know this UK company. I saw that piece of news.
Yeah.
And that's very bad. You see, they're already putting people on the spot and say, well, you want to work for us, get the chip. So if you don't want to get the chip, you have no choice. You lose your job.
I know people.
I would prefer to lose my job. You're better off.
Yeah. I know people in Silicon Valley, Claudia, that are already chipped.
Yeah, that's bad. That's really bad.
I know a company that's involved in payment, and they're already getting the betas out there. You think
that's not good.
Well, I'm telling you how it's going to be sold, and it's going to be bought lock, stock, and bagel, is that you will never have to worry about carrying your identity. You'll never have to worry about carrying cash. It's right on you.
Yes, until they turn off the chip, and then you lose all your money.
Or if your chip is hacked.
Or if your chip is hacked, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, this is getting fun.
But not only do you lose your money, you lose your identity.
Well, that's the scariest
your place in society. You lose everything. You lose your life.
It's already happening. My wife and I know of a situation, and we went to verify it, and they erased it. We can't find any evidence of this event happening. We know it happened. We know the day that it happened, but it's gone. It's not in the records.
What happened?
There are powerful people, and I'm talking about someone who's very, very powerful in government. They can literally wipe the record clean. It's weird,
Wow.
Claudia. It's frightening.
Wow.
They have new cities that we'll talk about this. We'll have to do a show on this. We really will. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, it's been a great time.
Yeah, we talked about a lot of things.
We did. And this is what I love about the show. Jeff P., thank you. Everyone, thank you for joining us. I could just go through the whole thing. But hey, folks, big hug to all of you, favor to all of you. And Claudia, it's just an honor and always a joy and delight to have you.
Yeah, thank you, Wayne. It's been a pleasure, really.
You know, we time travel on this show.
Yes, time goes by.
It does. Whoop. All right, folks. Well, Claudia,
Okay.
I put her, make sure y'all go over there and subscribe. If you're in this, in particularly the chat room or watching, go over there and subscribe. Come on. This woman should be already at least 30,000 subscribers. So anyway, there you go.
Thank you.
And that was a shameless plug that I did on my own.
Yeah.
Claudia, you are just an absolute delight. Thank you all, everyone. Y'all have a great time for the week. For my other viewers, I'll be back on tomorrow at noon Mountain Time. We're continuing, Claudia, with one of the most fascinating books I have read in some time, dealing with, again, the whole thing that's coming about.
The Phoenix Rising.
Yeah, the Phoenix Rising. The shaman, the medicine woman, she saw it. And boy,
the
it's
New World Order.
Yeah. And the thing that got me the most, that she saw that our own Supreme Court are going to make a ruling that's going to drastically affect all Americans.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, exactly. When you just said that, I went, yeah, I'm already getting surprised. I'm telling you, Claudia, this next 2 years in the United States is going to be unlike anything we've seen. Just get ready. We think that the Earth and the outer space and everything is going on. We've got our own little circus right here that's about to take place, folks. Just get your popcorn, get your soda, and get a front row seat, because, Claudia, it's going to get weird.
I'm sure.
It's true.
Can't be good.
It can't be. Well, Claudia, you're good, and that's what makes our show good. And I thank you.
Thank you.
All right, folks, y'all be good. We'll see you next week. Claudia, stay with me, and we'll be here next Monday night, folks. All right, be good. Bye-bye.